Hey everyone, what's up? Chad Wesley Smith here. Thanks for checking out this episode of Beers with Chad. I've actually created a whole nother channel just for Beers with Chad episodes because I want to kind of expand the brand a little bit there, go beyond just lifting, though of course I will be talking about powerlifting, weightlifting, training, all that good stuff, but focus more on my jiu-jitsu, business, entertainment, other sports, beer, all kinds of stuff. So go subscribe to the Beers with Chad channel. Let me know what you want to hear about and see on there, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Beers with Chad.
Hey everybody, what's up? Chad Wesley Smith here. On this week's Beers with Chad, we're not drinking any beer because it was the morning when we filmed it, but I'm joined by my friend Miles Burris. Several years ago, Juggernaut got to handle Miles' combine prep as he prepared for the NFL combine as a linebacker coming out of San Diego State. Ended up being drafted in the 4th round by the Oakland Raiders. Had a good but short career there, cut short by a series of knee injuries and kind of ongoing issues there with some bone-on-bone issues. So today I talked to Miles about his NFL career, the psychology he brought towards dealing with that injury, and then his transition to his post-NFL life, in which he's made a really successful career for himself as an actor, seeing him on shows on CBS, on Showtime, and then we also get his thoughts on the 2018 Oakland Raiders and how they're going to do this season. So make sure subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the feed, and enjoy the episode.
All right, so here with my buddy Miles Burris. How you doing, my man?
Good.
So, as people may not be too familiar with you, you were drafted in 2011? 2012, 4th round pick by the Raiders. Tell us a little bit about your NFL career.
Yeah, so I got drafted, like you said, 4th round, the Raiders, 2012. Came in and kind of became an immediate starter. There were some injuries, but started out as a first and second down linebacker, and then earned my way into being an every down linebacker after, I think, game 4. Pretty much started every game there when I was healthy. My second year I had a knee injury and was out for probably, I think, 10 games on the PUP list, and came back and played some special teams, but then came back and started at middle linebacker my 3rd year. And
what was the injury ultimately that ended your career?
Yeah, it was my right knee. A lot of wear and tear. Yeah, we got to the point where I would go and try to plant my leg and just wouldn't push my body anywhere, and kind of knew I had to hang it up. I chased it for a while after that injured year in 2015 and tried to get back and had some bites, but people were just hung up on my injury history and they wouldn't do it.
So right now teams they're in the dog days of summer, the NFL training camp, hard knocks, all that good stuff. As you look back, particularly about your rookie year, what was like the most shocking thing to you about becoming an NFL player? Maybe the most unexpected challenge you faced?
Unexpected challenge? Yeah, let me think. I know I probably got a way better answer if I had some time on it. I just can't think. I think, honestly, training camp, I think that was right after the CBA. Mm-hmm. So there was no more two-a-days, and in college they're getting away with murder. I mean, it's two-a-days, but legitimate, 3-hour practices, full pads, and so I remember coming to camp, and the learning curve is way more intense. So that slapped me in the face. It's like trying to take a sip from a fire hose. But as from a physical standpoint, I was cool with it. I mean, it wasn't too bad. It was one practice and then maybe a walkthrough, and I remember thinking, oh, this isn't too bad. This is easy as far as physically goes, but. Yeah, I think just kind of learning, being under the pressure and having to learn on the fly and learn an entire defense and make checks and do all that stuff, that was the biggest shock, because I came from a system, a 3-3-5 with Rocky Long, where I was more the edge rusher and it was see ball, get ball. And once the play's called, that's it, just go do it. And I loved that, and I was always better in a position where I could just be instinctive and reactive.
And you were always a big weight room guy, and you did your combine prep with Juggernaut back in the day.
Yeah.
And that meathead side of you is probably a lot of the reason why we're still in touch. 7 years later. Mm-hmm. So what were some of your best weight room numbers?
Yeah, I squatted 650 pounds, and I was like 17 years old, and I never tried to beat it again.
Is this like a good squat or like a high squat?
Say that again.
Is this like a good legit squat or a high squat?
Is that
like
where the bar is, or where I go? My depth was good.
Okay.
Yeah, my depth was good. Our coach in high school taught us right. It was a rep max system though, so you put a certain amount on the bar. I think I did like 500 for 10, and somehow that equated out maybe to 650.
Yeah.
I did it again in college, but I think I was close. I had more weight on the bar, but it was around the same. But yeah, I remember I used to always put the bar pretty low on my back, and I would really lean into my hips and all that, but couldn't do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a bench, the most I ever did, I did a single at 455, and cleans, I never did past freshman year in college. The strength coach after that never did them, and it was more of a rep system when we got into the league. So I think I did 325 was the most I did there.
So as you look at the training that you did, and you were really strong, fast, ran in like the 4.6s, 4.5s at the combine, big vertical, 37, 38-inch vertical. As you looked at the training that happened in the NFL and the guys who were being successful, 5 years in their career, 10 years in their career, were they still training really, really heavy, or what kind of things were they doing?
So I'd say there's two different kind of guys. There was some of the guys that they were so talented and they kept with some sort of a program, but it was like their talent was going to make them last a certain amount of time, and then there was the other guys that they lasted a long time because of the work. Had I not had my injury, I would have been that guy. I mean, I always felt like I had to work way harder than everybody else to get the results that I wanted, and I was willing to do it, and I felt like that was my advantage. But a lot of the guys, I think my biggest advice to anybody going to the league is do what works for you. Like, everybody gets there and then they think, now that I'm here, I got to go spend a bunch of money on some guru because he must be better than the nuts and bolts that got me here. And I think that screws a lot of guys, because then they're not staying strong. They're not doing, the core things that make you a better football player and keeping your top speed and changing, just all those little things.
And doing all the stuff, taking care of their body. That seems like the big thing. I was at Rams training camp a couple of weeks ago, and I got there 7 o'clock in the morning, and Ndamukong Suh was finishing his workout. Like, he came in, does his own thing, at 6 in the morning.
Dang.
And then he was getting stretched out by the strength coaches, and then kind of in there with while the offensive guys were lifting, he was just kind of in there watching over things, and then he was in the hyperbaric chamber. Wow. Then he did the walkthroughs. Then he was getting massaged. Then he was in there with the defensive lift, and then getting more treatment and not injured. But so I think that's the true professional type of things. And I even saw that in my own career, throwing the shot put, powerlifting. When I was 18, freshman in college, like, you didn't go to the training room until you were hurt, rather than going preventatively before that. But as you looked at life in the NFL, what was the toughest part from like a week to week basis, you think?
Definitely my third year, because I was moved to middle linebacker, the Mike, and like I said, it's my first year I started at outside linebacker. It was the will. I was off the ball, but it was a lot more instinctive. You're not making all the checks. You're kind of getting up, lining up, and being reactive and instinctive. I was never actually an X's and O's guy. I was able to pretty much learn what I have to do and do that. And my third year, I was thrust into having to be the Mike. And I have to make all the checks. I have to call the plays. I've got the mic in my ear, and I have to be completely mentally present with all the X's and O's and know what everybody's doing. And that was just like far outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
My attention span is pretty quick, and I was always like, what made me a great player was being able to line up and just instinctively get to the ball. I didn't even know what stacking the 5 technique meant, or stacking the 3 and on the run. I just somehow knew, okay, there's space here, the running back's going to cut back here, and I'm going to make a tackle. And I never understood the X's and O's very well. And so that was definitely the toughest part. And week to week, the entire game plan can shift. Like the main call you're calling, it could be different from week to week. The checks are different based on personnel and who the big receiver is and where we're going to double, and I had to be in the middle of all that, kind of directing the traffic, and that was rough.
Toughest guy to tackle
that I play? Oh, definitely Marshawn Lynch. I would say Marshawn Lynch.
Money.
Marshawn Lynch and then Doug Martin, and I'm not just saying that because they're both on the Raiders now. I'm saying that because I played both of them at different times and was having a rough day on those ones there.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would.
You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, would agree with you on Marshawn. Yeah, Marshawn and I were the same year in school at Cal, and he actually did track a little bit. He would run the 60 meters indoors,
nice,
and the 4x100 on the outdoor team, so I get to be around him. We didn't hang out a lot, but always a special place for the king of Oakland.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's awesome. Doug Martin, the muscle hamster.
Yeah,
that dude's a tank.
He is. No, he really is a tank. And I played him at Boise too, but there was something. He was different his rookie year. He was tough to tackle.
So as you dealt with this knee injury, of course, injuries are. Any sport, powerlifting, weightlifting, our kind of main audience, football, whatever, that's going to be a part of things. And I think how people mentally respond to being injured and the rehab process is huge. As you dealt with this injury, and I remember as you were dealing with it, having dinner up with you and your wife in Oakland. Mm-hmm. What's going through your head as you think about sort of the mortality of your football career and all that stuff as you were going through the injury?
Yeah. No, I lied earlier. That was the hardest part of my entire career. That was because my goal going in was always to be, I want to be, play 10 or more years. I want to do this until I can't do it, until the wheels fall off. I love this. Like, all I ever wanted to do my first day strapping on pads was be a professional football player. And so I think without trying to and without even realizing it subconsciously, it'd become an identity to an extent. And so when my knee started giving out on me, it was just like I was doing everything. Like on off days when guys were relaxing or just hitting the training, I was traveling to Utah, traveling to Colorado, all over the place, and Arizona. I was seeing these different specialists, just getting injections, trying different therapies, doing whatever it took because I was desperate to fix my knee, and I couldn't fix my knee. And, I could hardly get through practice. I'd have to take a bunch of anti-inflammatories and painkillers to get through what I was doing. But I was miserable because I just saw it as like a ticking time bomb. Like I was living my dream every day, but it was a nightmare because I saw that this is limited now, and there's nothing I can do to control it. And I was always able to kind of control things, like being a meathead, being that gym rat, where I can put in more work than anybody else, and it's going to get me here, and it gives me, more hope that I've got a little bit of control over this. And then when this happened, it's like I could feel it, like there was nothing I could do about it. I was trying everything. I was putting thousands of dollars into trying to get this thing figured out, it was on my mind all day. And at that point in my life, I wasn't really ready to deal with it mentally. I didn't know how.
And you mentioned having to do like painkillers and getting cortisone shots, I'm sure all that kind of stuff. I mean, how prevalent and maybe problematic do you think that is in NFL culture?
Yeah, I think it probably varies team to team, and I know they put in a lot of guidelines now as far as limiting that, and it has to be really well documented and things like that. But for me, there was times where it's like I had to. I could hardly gimp through practice sometimes and then get to the game, and I had to find a way to not feel it. And I had a really intense and structured pregame. I'd get there 4 hours early and kind of do everything just to get enough blood flow and get enough bend and all those things. But it's good now because I'm not pounding on it every day. I can do everything I need to do, and it's good to go.
So you're doing your own stunts now?
Yeah, I could do that. I could figure it out. Honestly, my first day on the job, they kept coming up to me after every scene. I had to like fall onto this mat, and fall out of camera onto this mat onto my knees, and they were like, hey, is that okay after every shot? I'm like, I'm used to taking on a 350-pound pulling guard with a head of steam, and I'm falling on a soft mat. Like, is Hollywood a little soft? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, so now you're Miles Burris, the actor. Tell me about the transition, post-football life, deciding to pursue acting.
Yeah. So I always knew I was going to give acting a real shot in college. Once football was done, I knew I'd give it a shot. But football was the number one. I started watching movies and stuff and just kind of thought that'd be a really cool career, but I don't know if I'm good at it or if I would like it.
You just figured like I'm so handsome. It's a rare time where I'm not the most handsome man on the podcast, but that's fine. Miles, go ahead. That can be you today.
No, it's fun. So I chased football for probably 2 years after I was released in 2015, injured, so I couldn't get back that season. It just my knee wouldn't go, and then I got to a point where I could have played again. Took a bunch of workouts, had a bunch of bites and contracts, and then a few minutes later I didn't, because they said, oh, the trainers vetoed it, your medical history, this, that, and the other. So my last bout, I was with a mini camp with the Vikings in 2017, and I could just see it on film, like all my injuries weren't allowing me to play at the level I needed to. And I came back and I was down, man. I was on the couch. I was just really upset because I really felt I was meant to play again, and when I couldn't, it was just like, what's next? This is what I've done since 5th grade. But Jenna had knew about my future aspirations to give acting a shot, and she kind of got me up off the couch and said, you know, let's just get some headshots of you. Let's get you up on the websites. Let's get you in an acting class. And she got me moving, and I loved it right away.
And she say like I'll give you 1 week to sulk on the couch?
She gave me a day, dude. She gave me a day. It was the next day. She saw I could come out there. I'm all down. She's like, no, we're getting up, dude. We're not doing this. You know, football's done, so let's move on to the next thing. But it's what I needed. It was that movement that I needed into something else. And I ended up booking my very first in-person audition for this big budget pilot as a guest star. And as soon as I got to set, it was like my first day in pads in 5th grade. It was like I never looked back to football. I called her. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I love this. And it's been incredible so far.
And where are you, you know, if you can look 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, what would be your aspirations in Hollywood and acting?
Yeah, I'd like to be like a superhero, a Marvel or a DC character, or an action hero. I think that's kind of the path I want to go down. I think I have an ability to do both comedy and drama, and that's something that would mix well in that genre. You see it a lot of the Marvel movies nowadays have a good comedic element to them as well, and that's the long-term vision for me.
I think we got to get you on Ballers. Get you with The Rock.
Yeah, hook it up, man.
Yeah.
You got the connects, man. You know everybody.
I don't know if I have The Rock connection.
But you got like 3 degrees of separation on that one.
Rock, if you're watching, holler at my man Miles here.
It's not as big as yours, but we can work with it. Hollywood, you know, the camera angles.
Yeah. And you're still involved with the Raiders.
Yeah.
You know, kind of always going to be in that Raiders family. Mm-hmm. So a lot of changes for your team. John Gruden coming in, you were up there at training camp. So give me your impressions of 2018 season for the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got to meet John Gruden briefly, and he came and talked to it was an alumni weekend in Napa. We got to check out their practice and do some events and stuff. And he came and spoke to us. And one thing I can tell you, I've never been coached by him, or you know, you see the old highlights and stuff, but he has definitely a commanding presence to where, when he talks, everybody's dialed in. Everybody wants to hear what Coach has to say, and he's got just this personality that people love, you know. And they, from what I hear from the players and the people I talk to, it's like they're fully bought in. And one thing I know from being at San Diego State and being with a losing program for 2-3 years, and then getting in Brady Hoke and Rocky Long and all that staff, Aaron Wellman as the strength coach. The coaches really are incredibly important, like way more important than you knew. We always had the talent there, and then they came in, and now we're going to bowl games every year. It changed the traditions. And so I really believe that having the right coaches in place, and specifically that head coach that is that authoritative figure that people will run through a brick wall for and are totally bought in and have everybody on the same, you know, on the same level as a unit, I think that's everything, because everyone knows the Raiders have the talent to be great, and I think he can bring it out of them.
Did you meet Deuce Gruden?
No.
So yeah, John Gruden's son, Deuce, is one of their assistant strength coaches.
Oh, okay.
And he's was junior world champion in powerlifting 2 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, in the IPF. Real short, little jacked blonde kid. I mean, looks just like him. But I guess John Gruden II.
Sure, he's got a little piss and vinegar to him, like
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's so. Any predictions? Record? Where are they going to finish the AFC West?
They're going to win the AFC West.
All right.
Yes.
AFC West championship.
I'm not biased at all either. No bias here.
Well, Khalil Mack, I think, is heading out of town now. It looks like they're going to trade him probably.
Is that the latest?
That's what it looks like.
Dang. I hope not. They need to pay the man. They got to keep him there.
Yeah, he's pretty good. But so what in the acting world? Where can people? What have you been on? Where can they see you?
Yeah, so I think my biggest gig was CBS Code Black. I was a guest star there, a top of show guest star. So I'm one of the storylines throughout the show. That was a lot of fun. I was a guest starred on Teachers, on TV Land, and then had a handful of other projects. But those are kind of the two most notable.
What was your character on Code Black?
Code Black was a college football player, an offensive lineman. I'm a little small for that, but that's Hollywood, you know.
Yeah, you're so much bigger than all the other actors, probably.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and where I get in this accident, a stage falls on me and a bunch of people at some dance, and I get out, but yeah, I'm dealing with a lot of guilt issues and surgeries and pain and a very feely, emotional thing. It was my first drama, but it was tons of fun because I got to see and meet Rob Lowe and Louis Guzman and William Allen Young and work with some of those guys and see them from take to take, and you just learn so much being immersed in it. You
just go full method acting on the surgery parts, and you're like just draw on your own experiences.
Yeah, I mean you draw on old experiences to get certain places, but I mean,
can you cry on command?
Nah, I get a little glossy eyed on command. Okay. I've never actually cried in real life, so it's a foreign thing to me. But yeah, no, it's fun. I'm learning on the fly and all of this, and I love it.
Awesome, man. Well, Miles Burris, The Rock is going to be reaching out soon. Future Captain America. I can see the Captain America type of thing for sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so always a pleasure seeing you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you.